We will be taking a deep dive into typographic features, and most of these will rely heavily on styles. We will take a look at the find change feature, which helps you to find all the instances within a document of a specific search criteria. And we will also look at a little bit more about grep, which I mentioned in previous chapters. So first of all, where can we find this option? Under this edit menu, you can find the find change option, and the shortcut is Control F to get it to it. Once you select that, you can choose from the 4 different tabs here on the top. Now normally you would start from text, looking for a certain word from here within your document, and of course you can decide whether you want to search in your current documents or even all the documents that are currently open. Story, all documents, or particularly one document. Now if you have the text frame selected, so you would have an option of a selection here. You can select this, or a story that you are currently editing. Now if I type in find what something that I know in this document, in this case let's say Dorset, and that's something I have a couple of times in this document. Now if I click find next, it is going to go ahead and find the first instance of this within the document. Then I can decide what to do with this. I can change it to another word, let's say Bournemouth. And I can say change to it, and you'll see immediately it's changed to Bournemouth. If I find next, it is going to find the next instance. I can choose change or change/find, which is a little bit faster through the document, which changes the current instance and then immediately jumps to the next one. So if I do that, I can jump to the next one here, or if I feel like I can trust InDesign now and I know that it's going to do the right thing, I can just go ahead and click change all. Now by the way, you might not see all these options here. If you don't see that, click on more options, because there is another thing you can do at the same time while you're replacing the actual word. You can also change its formatting. So if I want to change the formatting, I could choose the character style or a paragraph style. So let's just double click here, and I'll choose the character style drop cap for the character style now, and then click OK. Choose a drop cap and give OK. Okay. So keeping that there, when I say I need to change on this next instance, let me zoom in a little bit closer. We will see that not only the name changes, but also the font will change based on this character style. So find change next, I'm going to go find next. Let's say the document. Okay, find next there. And change find, and there you immediately see it has updated the word along with the character style. So if you want to quickly roll out a style throughout the whole document, but of course you don't need to use a character style for that. If I remove this here, I can just simply click here and something comes up. Maybe I'm going to use the font, given none here. Go to font family, maybe Verdana, and I want to make it bigger. Let's say size something else, maybe size 28, and I'll keep the underline on as well. Okay. So if I click OK and choose Find Next, for instance, we just change this, and you can immediately see it changed the font and it added the underline, and also it has changed, the size has changed. Now what can you also do is you can remove the find what criteria, and you can choose from find format. So it is going to search for text or objects within the document based on the formatting. So if I click on find format, click here, double click here, and go to basic character formats. Say I can type in Bebis. It is going to find, or maybe I'll just give cancel, find previous, okay, Bebis OTF, this font I'll choose for Bebis OTF. Double click here, Bebis OTF. Okay, let's say this is the font, and I know something that I used in this my document. Now if I click OK, then InDesign is going to look for any of these instances of the font and will change it to this formatting of the text. Go ahead and give change, and there you can see it has changed the character style, the font, and the size, and give underline as well. You can also change in the direction in which you want to search through the document. So I'm going to just keep it on backward, and because I think this was the last instance on the page. If I choose find previous, forward, let's just go back here in my this document, just select this, forward, change, find next, be here. I think the words have been changed in this as well. So maybe here, find next, and to clear this first of all, just clear nothing here, change to clear. Okay, if I find next, there I find my now if I change it, you can see the change has been immediately made on the font. Make sure you clear this out before trying that out. I made the mistake here. So I can also go back and find previous. It goes backwards as well, and I can apply change here, and it will apply like so. Now you can notice that how the drop cap also changed here when I apply the change. Once again, it overrides the styles that I had here. Now it had the same formatting that I specified here. So I'm creating a mess with this document right now. But you can see the potential in the fine change, and we are still scratching the surface, and there is so much more that you can do with this feature. Just like to highlight that you have these icons here where all the restrictions. So for example, if you turn on this icon, the lock layer, you can include lock layers as well, and you can include locked object in the fine tune process. You can also include all the lock stories, and you can choose hidden layers, parent pages, maybe master pages, and footnotes. Make it case sensitive or not, whole word, Footnotes by default will be on. You can also make your search case sensitive if you want to. When this option is not on, that means that if you type on a word, let's say Dorset, with lowercase, it will still find me through, like, just say Dorset. It's going to find the name here. Find next. Okay, I just need to clear this out, delete this. Okay, find next, and it'll find the word Dorset, like so. If you still want to restrict your search to the case, you can use and make this turn on, but last but not the least, you can also turn out the whole word. In case you say you type in the word or, it will find 2 letters within Dorset. But if I am looking for the word or, I have to make sure this is on, so it is looking for the whole words. I mentioned earlier there are 4 other options here on the top. That you can use for find, change, and the first step was to specifically change search for words and text. But then you can also have object on the right, in which we can find the frames for examples based on formatting. You can also look for anything based on object style, for example, but even any of these attributes can be selected. So maybe you want to quickly remove all the text wrapping from here. Yeah, text wrap. Maybe if you want to remove this from the document, you can just choose from text wrap within the document. Now if I set this selection to select the document, and type to all frames, you can find the format first of all here. If I wanted, I would easily able to remove this and amend it or do anything else with that. Similarly, we have the glyphs option here, or where you can search for a certain character within the document and you can replace it with another. Here you have the glyph option and here replacement for the font. This is very specific and I don't use it much often, but it's good to know that we can find it here. And more importantly, you have probably the most advanced option called grep, which I'm going to show you in another document. Let me just click on done here and go to this next document. Now, grep is generalized regular expression parser. That's what it stands for its coding language. And it is using meta characters with which you can formulate expressions to do certain things. So this is where it gets quite complicated. And I don't even want to go deep into this because it is going to have its own different course, and hopefully it is going to be there on this topic. But for now, I would like you to try use find change feature with grep codes that I provided here, just to see the power of this feature. So if I want to learn what these characters mean, there is a description up here and even a link here for showing you for more grep meta characters if you want to learn more about them. If I zoom in closer, say this frame, this text frame. Notice I selected the text frame and then press Ctrl F. We need to do this in this document to use character style called bold. First of all, I'm under this grep option and I'm going to choose the change format style. to bold. So that's what we want to apply with our search here. We will be setting up, but what we are looking for is not a specific word. We're looking for every word that is 3 characters long. So we're going to do that with coding. We'll be adding the first meta character, that is /s. It stands for any space. And then we have bracket, which means a word, bracket. And then we have a group within with full stop. We're going to have s curve brackets, and then dot, full stop, and then curly bracket, and 3. Which means this group that we are defining has 3 characters. And then I'm going to close that group again with bracket and another space. It's quite complex, and if you just want to copy, you can copy the text into here to find what, but make sure that in search option you choose story, because that's a good thing. We can find and change about this dialog box. Is not preventing you to make changes in the document. You can keep it open and still make changes or select different things. So if I have this story selected now, I can select a different story. And also have the formatting set to bold. Now I'm going to choose find next, and immediately is going to find all the characters. Is it story? Okay, find next. Select this document and find next. Could not find. Maybe there's an error in typing this. Okay, I was supposed to make a backslash, not a slash here, so make sure you have that done properly. Backslash s bracket dot 3 here within the curly brackets, close, and backslash s. Okay, now find next. Within the story I want to do that, so I'll just select the story, this one, go find next. Immediately finds the first word that has 3 characters in it, or 3 letters. I can choose change all, and we will immediately see. I'll just change the format to bold here, change that to bold. Okay, and change all. Okay, so immediately change to the format. I'll just give one more character formatting style, that is going to be a color here, just change it to pink. Okay, change all, and there, one click, I have made changes to all the characters that had 3. So it managed to do what we exactly wanted to do. It changed the formatting. I used character style for all of these words that had exactly 3 characters. So similarly to this, on this document, you'll find other exercises. You can go through this and use these other meta characters. Example, quite similar with this example, we have 2 format word or 5 or less characters. Then next one is format word with 2 or 4 letters. Then we have a format every word before or more letters. Then format text within a quotation mark. And so on and so forth. Definitely is going to be worth looking through this. I use grep in all the documents that I create, and this is about fixing every common typographic mistakes that most people do in their copy. Now I'm going to use this document to remove orphans, windows, and runs. This example is something that I've used almost in all my documents whenever formatting the body copy. And these three typographic mistakes are very common, and you can see them even in magazines and professional publications because they are quite easy to miss. But once you know about them, you will notice them immediately, even if you don't know about them. It's just sometimes not comfortable to see your copy. So one of these problems that we have and already see here is the last line of the paragraph that is got separated from the previous column. So that's where the paragraph starts and finishes here. This is what we call a widow. So the last line that went alone and got separated, it can happen to the top of the column of the new page or within a new frame. Whenever this happens, it's something we should fix. And similarly to this, if I change the size of the frame, I can get something that's opposite of it. That is called the orphan. This is the orphan. So the first line of the paragraph again got separated similarly to the widow. So the orphan was left behind, the widow went alone. So these are the things that we need to fix. And also there is another thing we call the runt. It is the last line that when it's really short. So again, it's not just in balance. Having all these copy here and have a very short last line, that's also something we should fix. And the good news is we can fix all of these three with a combination of a character and a paragraph style. So first of all, I need to create a character style. Make sure you deselect everything. Click on this create new style and hold Alt, and you will come up with this dialog box. It will automatically open this, and I'm gonna name this as no break. That's all I need. And then under the basic character formats, I'm just gonna apply no break and give OK. That's the only thing we need to apply here, and this feature makes sure that whenever the style is applied, those words will be kept together. So they won't separate between lines or columns or text frames, so it acts like a glue. So it is our glue style and we've saved it. Now next one we need to create is a paragraph style. So I'm going to create one before. I just need to make sure everything has to deselect the character style and then create new. Now I'm going to click on new paragraph style. I'm going to double check here that there's nothing. Set above no break, and that's a good news. So we can also check it under basic character formats. No break is not on, so it's all good news. We just need to call this one the body copy. Okay, and I will put there fixing mistakes as well. And I'll put there fixing, so I will remember that this is the style that I used, which will improve the copy. And all that we need to do for fixing orphans and widows is going to keep the options turned on, keep four lines together. Here, keep lines together. So it will immediately fix. Start with two line and the end of the paragraph will immediately fix that option here. I'll just go here. There's that. Apply style to selection. Okay. So I need to apply this later, but let's go ahead and select this. Okay, that is going to immediately fix anyway. Now that's also an actually, I'll just go ahead and give OK. Select the paragraph there. It fixed the copy. I'm going to go ahead and edit here. Here, keep options. You can increase or decrease the number of lines and so on and so forth. Very few people know about this. I would recommend if you use this almost all the time whenever you format and set up a style for your body copies. So if I click OK and select the frame style and choose the older style, and we click here, it got immediately applied here. And you can see it works well as well. So if I go back to the other style that is called orphans, windows and runs, it will show you that how it was before, and then I can switch to the new one and that will fix it. So the reason I have the other style is just to be able to go back and forth and see how it looked before and after. Now we just need to fix the runs. So even if you don't do this much to get this, you'll get this point, and that's already enough for this. You don't need to break character style, which we will already use it for run or fixing the runs. It doesn't take long to take this further to make your body copy style even better. All we need to do is go to the style options, go to the grep style. Here, let's get a new style, apply style, no break one. So similarly to fine change, when you use grep, you can start using expression, but in this case, this expression will be embedded in your paragraph style, and whatever you will find, it will immediately use the character style that we specified. So what we are looking for is text at the end of the paragraph. The expression is $sign for this. So it means it is going to be at the end of the paragraph. Also, we need to specify that what we need to keep together, a certain amount of characters. So it should be minimum length of the last line of each paragraph. And the way you want to do that with expression is by using a dot, curly brackets. Let's say I'm going to keep it 15. So if I click anywhere in the dialog box, it is going to get applied, and you can see it automatically applies, as you can see in the background. Let me just show you. If we reduce it to 5, then click again, we have the runs appearing because the minimum requirement is now too short. But as soon as I change this to, let's say 30, just double click here and give 30, and then it gets increased like so. So that's how you can automatically decide and control what's the length that I would like, or the minimum length. I think the 15 or maybe 20 would be enough. And yeah, it looks quite nice. So we applied the no break character option to this expression under the grep style, and we have under the keep options the keep lines together, and these three will fix the most common type of graphic errors you can have in your copy. So if you just start every body copy by setting up these things, you will immediately have a better result, and InDesign will be able to keep track of these things. So if I change this copy, it will never forget the options, orphans, and they will stay. No matter what I do with this copy, it will stay the same. So you'll be inspired for knowing more about grep. It's a huge topic. It's like, if you're not used to coding, it might be a little strange to it. But it will be useful, especially if you have to work with a lot of text in InDesign. Creating lists in InDesign is an important skill to learn, because you will have to use them quite often, and also because there is so many things you can customize for them. Lists in general are great to separate your copies into steps or individual points that are connected to each other somehow. So we have two types of lists. We have numbered and bullet list. I have two examples prepared here on. We can try to create each of these lists. So first of all, I'm going to select this text here. And you can already see that we have 5 paragraphs. If I show you the hidden characters, you will see that each of these paragraphs are divided by page graphs. Also, I have space after each paragraph just to divide them even more visually. So all I need to do is select these paragraphs. If I wish to turn into steps in this numbered list, I can go to this paragraph options, and here I can click on this. So this one that will create a numbered list. Similarly to that, we have a selection here and turn it into a bullet list. Let's select all of these characters and click here, and it will create a bullet list. And it's fairly simple. Now let's have a look at some of the settings you can apply over your numberings and bullets. So first of all, I will use a different numbering. Just alt click on this, and you will see this pop up here, and it will take me to the settings. And it's best to check the preview option on so that you can see what's happening, and then you will see that formatting of the numbered list can be amended. So we can have this as 1, 2, 3, or we can have 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, or you could have Roman numerals as well, or we can use the alphabet, either capital or lowercase. And then below I can even customize exactly what we see between the number and the entry. So at the moment we can see this, there is a caret hashtag sign, which means the current number, and the dot is the full stop, and just behind the number or letter in our case, and then we have a caret T, which is a code for tab character. If you're not familiar with these meta characters or codes, you can click on this arrow, and here you will find special characters and also placeholders, which will come back in the later, and we will discuss about the multi-level list. This will be important. So for example, if I want to remove the tab space, I'll just remove that using the backspace. I can go to the insert special character and give, and you can immediately see slightly different spacing, which is exactly the size of the width of the current font's lowercase m character. That's a useful space, but it's usually a wider space than the normal space character, and it is less flexible as using a tab sign, because if I put a T back, then we have to be able to adjust exactly with the tab space. T. If you're not familiar with tabs, we will be actually discussing that later. But for now, let's move on to the next. What we can do here, we have a left indent option here, which means the whole selection or this whole list can be pushed to the right. Like so. Then you can do is increase the first indent. Now what happens is the bullet or numbering is getting closer to the entry, and then you can reduce the space by increasing all the way to 0. But then because we are using a tab character, now it shifted further. So if I keep that -3, it's probably the closest I can get. And then if I'm reducing it back and I reach -12, and further on. Now indents cannot extend outside the text frame. Here is the limit that we are extending. Let's just put this back where it was now. So make sure you balance or even these both out while you're trying to give the spacing. So I'll just try to give this as -6 and this as 6, which is a good number. And keep an eye on the two values at the same time. They can be contradicting if you set one of them too big or too small. Let me just set this number back to maybe original 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, I would like to mention, which is quite an important feature you can use for character styles of numbers. Now, this style is not going to affect the entries, just the number. That's the style that I have in this document. Feel free to use it. And it's going to be exactly the same where we are using a bullet list. So our character styles can be used to stylize bullet options. Now last but not least, it's an option. We'll create a new list. And there's again something I would like to show you. We'll look at the multi-level list. But for now, we're going to keep it on the default, and I'm going to actually click OK. Now I'm going to show you for bullet lists what we have. So I'll just select this and give alt click on this to get the options for bullet list on. First of all, the difference here is that we will be able to change the bullet character. So we can use glyphs from any fonts on the computer. So these are just default ones, but then of course we can click add. And we can find all the characters of the current font if this is the font I don't want to use, I can also switch to another one. So I have all kinds of fonts here, and maybe one that can be useful is Windings. Just go to W, Web Things, and give OK. Add web Windings things. Okay. Alright, so I can choose one of these, like this one, a check mark, and give OK. And you can see it has been added to our bullet character list. Now if I want that as a icon, I can just simply click on this, and you can see that immediately this could be used to work. So that's how you can quickly, easily customize the bullets, and then of course the character style option can be used to colorize these. Let's just say highlight. It can be changed to red color. And generally the settings are going to be same here, with one exception, that you can create lists for bullet list. So the option is only available for numbered lists, and there is a reason for that. I'll show you later. And that's all about a nutshell about working with a list. And it is also important to save all your lists as paragraph styles. Now we'll be looking at a couple of more advanced techniques you can do with lists in InDesign. Most importantly, we need to learn how to work with multi-level numbered lists. This will be useful for catalogs, instructional, or legal documents where you need to have several levels of numbering. So if you want to check out the example I have prepared here, it demonstrates how it works, and the key is really about setting up the paragraph styles. So I have a group called multi-level list here, that is called 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are all linked up with each other using the next style feature, which we talked earlier. But more importantly, there is a very important thing that connects them, and that is the list name. So if I double click on one of these and go inside bullets and numbering, here I have multi-level list, but you can also call it anything else. Once you create this list, you will be able to connect your levels together, and it will allow you to continue numbering between frames within the same document or even within multiple documents in a book file. And that's again something we will talk about later when we get into long document options. For now, we will just focus on how to set this up. So first of all, I'm going to create a new document, Control N. And create. So I can start from scratch right here. I will use the type tool and create a text frame like so. And here I will just going to type in chapter 1. Now if I choose this to be numbered list, I'll just select this and go in here, number lists, here. You can see it already works. Just bring up the font a little bit. Point, okay. So chapter 1. Now if I type in here and to give chapter 2, that already counts them. Now what happens if I create another frame and they are not even connected to each other? Just type chapter 3. What is the font size here? It's 19 point. I want a 19 point font size here as well. 19. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and type in chapter 3. So if I choose number lists here again, let's go here, numbered lists. Now the problem is every time I choose a number list, it is not going to remember my items on that list because there is no connection between them. So what if I save a paragraph style? Let's just go to my paragraph panel. Here, new paragraph style. The bullets and numbering. I'll just name this as chapter. Titles, chapter titles. And press OK. Now let's just give this chapter titles and give as chapter titles as well. This one, chapter titles. So I use this in one line, selected another line. Immediately happened that something went wrong with numbering. I'll just give numbering here. What's numbering? Numbers. Start at 1. Okay. Currently it is showing at 1 here and 1 here as well. Because there is no sequence, it just keeps it at 1. Let's just say I press enter here and type in chapter 3. It's the same thing. Let's just say out here chapter 3. Chapter it is the same issue here, that we get the numbering as 1. So we just go to the paragraph style, edit chapter titles, go to bullets and numbering. Here by default it will be mode start at 1. And if it's set to number 1, it means that every entry at the sequence will be automatically 1. There is no automatic advancement. If you want to change that, you have simply choose from continue from a previous number. Once I do that, immediately these will be numbered correctly. So if I click OK, that seems fine. But what happens if I apply the same paragraph style on this chapter? Now call it chapter 4. Apply chapter titles. And so at the moment you see the sequence numbers are good here. If I have this line selected, now if you see that the sequence here is still at number 1. The reason because that is that we have paragraph style created, only we can work within the same frame, or if it's a connected story. If these two are completely independent from each other, so let's just show you. I'll just delete the one here, and then let's connect these two. Now I'm going to type in here and give it chapter 4. And if I break it down like so, then you can see this continues from the previous number, because there is a thread and the story are connected to each other. And once again, if these two are independent frame, it's not going to work. Let's just say click here and double click here, and they're independent now, and it is not going to work anymore. So if I click twice and on the input part, you just select on this one, disconnect this two. Now it's an independent frame, and even though I have this same chapter titles paragraph style selected being used, it is going to register that's already being 4 numbers in this sequence. So what do we do next? Again, to change the paragraph style option, you can go back here and edit that. I'll just give it chapter 5 here. Chapter. Okay, right click here, edit chapter titles, and under bullets and numbering there is a new list option, and I'll just name this as chapters. And then click OK, and immediately all of these will be connected throughout the whole document. So anytime these paragraph style is going to be used to remember how many times you are present in the previous page. I'm going to just go ahead and click OK, and I drag this frame to the left and this one to the right, and see what happens. Does it make any difference? Well, it doesn't. So I'll just drag this frame here to the left and right. As long as they are on the same page, there is no change in the numbering. But if I create a new page, let's just say I'll bring this to here, and you can see if I zoom in, immediately number will update, and obviously whichever page is closer to the beginning of the document is going to update the numbering to be lower than the frames coming later. So keep that in mind, because that's just the way the numberings will work. And that's just InDesign keeps track of everything throughout the document. But once again, remember, you can, once you create a list, your name of your list is going to keep track wherever this paragraph style is used. Even though they are not connected stories, they will still be counted. So once I move this back, the first page immediately recognizes what was the original order. But if they are on the same page, that's not really only thing, but I wanted to show you. So the key is very important to be able to set up your multi-level list. But a multi-level list is more than just a simple list name, because once you want to have another level, let's say level 2, which will be a section or maybe a heading under this, you would need a second paragraph style for that, but you need to make sure that's also within the same list name. So let's see how to do that. I'm just going to just place this right like they were before. Say I were to go within here and go enter and give heading 1. Now I will have to save this as a new style. Let's go to paragraph styles, new paragraph style, and I'm going to call this heading. Titles. And let's go to bullets and numbering. And this is the key here. So this is where we need to make sure that it gets registered correctly. So most importantly, it is in the same list option under the chapters. Then I'm going to increase the level 2. And immediately you can see that the numbering starts at number 1 instead of number 2, because this is now a sub entry within our list, and it doesn't affect the main level 1, which are the chapters. And probably should have called my list name something else, but now let's just keep it like that. I hope it's not too confusing, although the core topic is quite confusing sometimes. But most importantly, we can make sure that numbering looks different, so we can separate level 1 from level 2 a bit more. So first of all, we can change the format. We can use the Roman numbers, or you can use the ABCD letters. But if you want to stick to the numbers, what we can do is indicate that this is a sub level here. So the way you do that is by changing the code here. So under the numbers definition, you can go here, insert placeholder. Let's just bring the cursor here and insert placeholder level 1. Of course, you have to put a dot here, so it is going to update as well. And let's just go back this to numbering. But if you want to add a placeholder at the beginning for level 1, I can just go to the drop down and choose insert level 1. Here, choose level 1. Currently, because there's 2 levels, we can insert level 1 into this entry. So if I choose that, you will see it's going to be 1, 1. Of course, it's going to divide this and maybe add a dot full stop there. Simply just give a full stop. By default, it will not be there. You just have to add it later. So it's 1.1, and if I click OK, and if I enter here, you immediately see there's 1.2. I'll give a heading 2. And then if I go in type here heading 3, it is gonna go ahead and continue the list. At the moment, it is not automatically switching between the paragraph styles, so I need to manually switch between them. But the key here is it will automatically notice once I choose my second level style. Say here, if I automatically have number 1, and let's give enter and give this heading titles, it is going to be 2.1. So it already knows that we already reached level 1 with the second number. Within that, there is the first instance of level 1. So let's just keep adding one more heading. That would be heading 4. And then heading 5. And so on and so forth. So you can see there is a 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. You can keep going. Maybe chapter 5. Let's just add something to chapter 5. Enter heading titles, and here be heading 6. And you can tell that it is now 5.1, and of course you can connect your paragraph style. So each of these levels can be connected by using next styles features here. So if I go back to my chapter styles, first level, just double click on that, chapter tiles, edit. So the layout, this is the level number 1. I'll just name it as LVL1. Okay, give here, edit. Okay. I'm supposed to do that, so just make sure I deselect everything. Okay, now I can give edit titles, level 1. And if I choose next style here, I can choose heading titles, and it will automatically switch between the two. So from now, level 1, when I press enter, the entry will next be automatically a heading entry. So this is the auto advancement between the connected styles, which we had learned previously, and now you can see all these features come together and everything, and it gets more complicated but also more automated at the same time, as long as you know what you're doing. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to give a chapter, new chapter title, that is going to be a chapter 6. This is going to be chapter title, chapter 6. And if I press enter and give heading, and immediately this is going to be registered as a subheading. Now of course you want to visually separate your levels as well, so it's not enough to set them up and make them work, but you also have to make them visually separate and give a clue what is more important and what is a sub level. So what I would do is the chapter titles, first of all I would add like a name here, level 2, edit name here, level 2, LVL2, give OK. I like to keep the visible names as well by styles, which level they are on. So bring some, rename them, use abbreviation LV or maybe LVL1, and make sure that's more prominent. And so I'm just going to go to here, edit chapter 1, go to basic character formats, give it Arial. Okay, maybe increase the font size, and maybe make it bold. Because my second style that I created is based on the first one, that automatically changes, which is brilliant. But because now only one thing I need to do is select the heading titles. Now I'm going to choose my heading titles. I'm going to give edit basic character formats, and maybe I'll change this bold to a regular. Maybe just reduce the font size. So I feel like it's not big difference enough. I can always reduce the size, and I can also go into bullets and numbering. And I can start changing things like the indent. So if I wanted to, I can use the left indent. That way it's even more visually distinguishing. numbers to be further away, closer to the left side, I can also increase the first line indent. So let's say set it to -11. And left indent is 11. You'll have exactly proper space between the actual entry name and entry number. Now if you want to change the way your sequence number look, you could always use the character styles. For that, there's something you can define here, character styles. Based on the character style, new character style. Just gonna give and go ahead, make a character style in different color. Let's just say add here and basic character formats, change color, maybe to cyan. We'll give it as heading name. And then I can just choose cyan, click OK. Okay, I'll just go edit here and based on, just choose style, that is rep style, apply style to heading. So you OK. Here it made a change there. Remember, the character styles are used more for targeting smaller elements within the paragraph most of the time. We normally call this nesting. So now if I click OK and add more items like one here, 6K, I want to add a heading here, that is heading 8. It is going to come up with the character style. Let's just make them all cyan. Okay. So I can now type in chapter 7. Let's go ahead and enter chapter 7. But I have to mention here that it is chapter title. It will come up with chapter 7 name here. Just none. Select this into none. Okay. If I enter here, now heading 9, heading 10, and so on and so forth. All these styling we define within the paragraph style. Also using additional character style will be automatically used. So probably that's the most complex things we have learned so far in this course, but I understand it's a little bit overwhelming. So what I would like to do is practice this setting and try to recreate this example. This one. This is once again a multi-level list having 4 levels. So the first level is the section, and then chapters, and then heading, and then the subheading. And once you have a look at this, how it is set up, you can change under bullets and settings, how the codes are used. options that I applied. You don't have to create exactly the same styling, but make sure you can build a multi-level list including at least 3 individual levels, and make sure you can connect them into a chain. So level 2, for example, led on to level 3, and then level 1 to level 2, and so on and so forth. So just to show you a final example in this document, I just go to here, maybe let's choose level 1. So here's a level 1. Enter all the level 1, select this and give a level 1, and give enter, and level 2, just give enter, level 3, enter, and level 4, and I can level 4.1, and I can go on adding more of these. And these are all automated because there is no level. The next line will be adding the subheading until I actually manually choose to be once again a heading like that. And so it is a very important lesson to learn. Even if you find it confusing and more complex, it's still worth spending time and understanding it, because if you ever have to work on documents where it's important part of structuring your copy, then you will really struggle without understanding how to set up your paragraph styles. And that is something you don't want to fake and manually start typing in the numbers, because quickly it can become a big mess. So definitely you want these to be automatic to avoid mistakes that your designer will be blamed for. So it's more of a warning, but honestly, it's sometimes hard to learn new techniques, and you might see why it's necessary, but by understanding something more complex like this, you'll be able to create paragraph styles much faster and easier for less complicated projects. Now that you know for all about the lists, we'll be working on footnotes and captions. We'll be looking at footnotes. We used to include more explanation or to highlight the source of an information within the copy, and captions, we used to have more information about an image that we have in our documents. To be able to test these things out and to follow what I'm going to show you, make sure you have something like this, and the first page I have some text folder filled in here with the heading here, footnotes. Added 4 footnotes here. You can double click here, and your text may be a highlighted word, and you can go to type menu and go to insert footnote, and there it's that simple. I'll just add footnotes itself, footnote, note E as per the sequence. Okay, in this case, because we have previous ones on the left. Now the cool thing about footnotes is that if I start changing my text frame like so, it updates accordingly. Now if I start dragging down this, immediately as footnote 4 has become here, moves on to the third column in the InDesign. If I went further down, like here, you can see 3 footnotes added here. Go further down, you can see 1 footnote got added here. So like so, the footnotes will be adjusted when I change the text frame like so. It's like everything else in InDesign, it has obviously options for footnotes as well. You can just go to simply type menu. Here you have document footnotes options. You can customize a lot of things like style in which the numbering is, which is actually quite similar to the list we discussed earlier. And of course, we have more options for formatting the text as well. Within the visible footnotes, you can use the paragraph styles or the character styles. And for the reference, the number, you can use a separate character style. And separation between them two can be a tab character or an M space, what I have here. And then even more you can go into is a layout tab. Here we have options even for division lines. Or this line separating the footnotes from the rest of the copy. Or if you have a Creative Cloud version of InDesign, you will also see this feature which was recently introduced. That's span. I'll just check the preview on span footnotes across columns. And if I have the preview on, I can see that instead of breaking up footnotes into columns, this option will allow me to have them spanning all across the documents. So they will be kept all here on one side, even though I have 3 columns within the text frame. This might be better if you want to have a little bit more distinguished area for footnotes, especially if you have, say no footnotes in the first and the second column. Then the third one, you have 5 of them. It might look weird to have 5 rows of footnotes at the last column and nothing in the first 2. If you want to refine your footnotes, this is definitely a place to go, and of course look into setting up paragraph styles. And like I did in this document, is generally formatting how these footnotes will look like. And then similarly to footnotes, we have also called features called captions in InDesign. So here I have already set up a blank frame. So with a caption link to it, I'll just select this and I'm going to place image here. Go to file, place, say this image 5, and automatically it will include the file name under this image, and that is because it was all set up by using live caption feature. I'll just delete and show how this works. Let's go ahead and delete this. All I have to do is go to an object menu under InDesign, and under the captions I have this captions set up. Let's go ahead and give undo here. Okay. Let's delete this intersecting link. I'll just place it here for now. Okay, go to object, go to captions. You can generate a live caption or generate static caption, or you have a caption set up right there. It might be worth going in there and first, before you want to add something to your captions, is really where you can define what you need. At the moment I'm capturing this name of the title, so just keep this as name. From here there's so many things you can name. I'll just keep it name for now. And you can record into your captions from the metadata of these files or images. And then of course you can add additional text as well, which will be a default text. Let's say a name of the file, say image name. Name, and I'm going to give a dash space, and then metadata will be filled in based on whichever image you have in the current frame. You can also decide the alignment, below image, above image, or left of image, or right of image. You can also give an offset. You can even use the paragraph style if I wanted to, and you can even have a separate layer for creating caption as well. So if you have a layer specifically for text frames, you could target that, and then every caption will be generated, will be placed into that layer. And of course, if you need more information, just not a name, you can add one more here, and you can call it add more lines or effective PPI maybe, or dimensions. Let's just give it dimensions in this case. Let's offset it a little bit more for mm, and I'm going to give a size here. Okay, so that's exactly what we wanted for this. I'll just go ahead and give OK. I'm going to go to Object, Caption, and generate live caption. Now if I replace the image here, let's say I'm going to give Control D, and let's just say this image here, photo 22, you open, and immediately it comes up with the name and the dimensions as well. This is why we call it live caption, is because if I replace this image here, it's going to say something else. Then I click, not only open, the name will update, but also size will be regenerated based on the metadata of the new image. So that's all thanks to live caption design. But the interesting thing about live captions here, these are the text frame, will work only if they're overlapping an object. So if I drag this away from the image, you can see there is no this will be disconnected, and we don't see any relevant information in there. But as soon as we move back there, starts to be linked here and generates calculating details that we require. So what's the difference between this static caption is that if I create a static caption, it will be permanent. If I move around within the image, document, or even I take it outside, the details won't be changed. It will stay the same. So both of these options are useful, but remember, it's all about setting them first and the way you want the captions to be generated. Also setting up styles if you want to format them in a certain way. Then once all that's done, you can keep using them as long as you have live caption. They will be automatically updated whenever the images are replaced. That's all you need to know about the captions and footnotes. Make sure you practice about these. We'll be working with tabs now. Tabs are very commonly used dividers for copy instead of using columns or tables. You can divide your text within lines and still be able to organize and align them almost as if they are columns. And this is mainly thanks to the position of your tabs and that specify every setting the way you want it by using the tabs panel in InDesign. So first of all, I'm going to have this text frame something like this. And use Alt-Control-I to view the special characters, that is the spaces, or Control-I. And here I can show or hide the hidden characters. It's also available from the type menu again, from here. So hide or show characters, and then once you see this, you will be able to see where the tab characters are. So this is the tab character here, and I can already see that a few of them are missing. So I intentionally did that so you can practice adding them. So let's go here, double click here, and add a tab here, and one more here. I have a space here, so instead of space, I'll just remove that backspace, and I'm gonna add one more tab. And that's all I think that was missing. So now how do we specify the spaces between them? Because at the moment it is really messy, so we can't really see where the divisions are. So between the day and opening times call and entry fee columns, which are not actually columns, but they can be considered columns or sections of information. So what I would normally do is I would select this text frame, select the text frame, and then go to my type menu. Here I have an option called tabs. You can access it using shortcut Control-Shift-T, and that will bring up this flat tab floating panel. You can always click on this magnet icon, and that will quickly slap it to the top of the text frame. Although you can include tab spaces in your copy, it doesn't actually mean that there is something defined where these tabs should be positioned. So what you need to do is to click above the ruler, and that will define the tab position. Click and drag, and that will define it like so. And click one more for this entry fee. Once again, you can click on this ruler and you can define the next tab positions and point by moving this around, and you will see how this information in the text frame will move around the ruler that is aligned to right now. So if I click on the align to left, it is going to align it to left. Give undo now. Okay, that's there. Right. Now, as the indicator is saying left justified right now, it is going to be left justified. You can also center justify, and also you can give it a right justified. We can align to a specific character, or it's called align to decimal, which I'm going to apply on this one, align to decimal. And this way it reads perfectly for the numbers. So this can be used for currencies, dates, or to be almost anything to do with numbers, especially when there's decimals, because if I click away now and I remove the hidden characters, I can see it is much easier to read this compared to what we have to do, what we had before when it was set back to maybe right align, say right or left align. So all I need to do is select one of these and choose right align, and that will be right justified. Also, it's important to have the whole frame selected, otherwise the changes you do with the tab options won't apply to all the rows. So you have to have this whole text frame selected if you want to have a general change in the tab positions. So that I have that, you can see with the right alignment, it is not that easy to read the difference between the $125. It doesn't seem immediately more than, for the example, this value here. And again, this value doesn't seem the same as above as well. So when I set it back to where it was aligned with the decimal point, it immediately we can see that what's more and what's less. If you need to align to something else in the copy, you can actually put that character here, align on, or you can, in case I would want a dollar sign like this, say give a dollar sign. If I click away, you can see it immediately will be aligned to that. But then I can change it back to full stop, and once again it will come back to much better positioning with respect to decimal. Now, last thing you need to remember about the tabs is, as I mentioned, they will have to be applied consistently throughout the whole frame to all of your paragraphs if you want to make it work. And that is why it is important to save them as a paragraph style. You need to save the locations, tab locations, into the paragraph style. So for example, if I open up my styles panel here, just double click on this. Okay. And I want this to be included in this paragraph style. So all I need to do is right click on this and redefine style. And once I do that, I can go to the settings and go to tabs, and you can immediately see that the tab will be saved where there's two tabs. You go to the general settings. Here it is saved as tab, count to, and so information about the tabs. So if you have a work with tabs, remember to save them as paragraph styles. And if you need more complex alignment with your text frame, you might want to consider using tables. And we will be now working with tables, which is a more advanced version of working with tabs. Working with tables is a crucial skill for anyone working with InDesign document, and you will have to first learn how to import the copy that you were using for your tables, and then how to format and refine them, and even how to save styles to keep the appearance of your tables consistent. We will walk through all these steps, and you can use table to see how the table is set up. But we will be starting from scratch with a new document. We're taking an A4 size document, landscape format, and then click create. Then we will do is we're gonna go to the table menu and choose create table, or you can use the shortcut Control Alt Shift T. Once I do that, I can type exactly how many rows and columns do I want. So we will need 7 columns, and we will need 4 rows, body rows, and 1 header row. I will come back to explain what that means, but we will just need 1 of that, and no footer row is necessary in this case. So you can already see there is an option called table style, and in case I have a style saved, I could already start this table by having it formatted in a certain way because we don't have a style saved yet. We will start with the blank new table by clicking OK. I can click OK and drag and define the area where I want the table. Release. Once you do that, you will see that it will be split into 7 columns and 5 rows, out of which the first row is our header row, where we will see our information which each of these columns represent. If you have older versions of InDesign, Creative Cloud version will have to first create the text frame and then start processing this using the create table option. So having a frame created first is necessary in the older versions, and in the new one you don't have to do that. You can start straight away from the table menu and choose create table in Creative Cloud. So once we have a table, there's a couple of things we can do. First of all, it behaves like a frame. So I can start adjusting the frame itself, and soon you can see that column and rows don't immediately interact with the changes to the frame. So in this case, the frame is still the container, but the content is the table. So again, it's a similar relation like images or text. The content and the container, although are grouped together, they don't actually change simultaneously all the time. Some things you have to do it manually. So for example, if I change the width of this document, and then I want them to fill the whole page, I would have to make them frame bigger. Like so. And I double click here, and when you see this option, you can drag it out, one of these columns, and wait till it's dragged out until it fills the frame. And now if I select all these cells by going in this option, at the corner here. Once you see this, click and it will select all the cells in the table. Once you have them all selected, right click and choose distribute columns evenly. That way you can manage to increase the area and you can use your columns, and same thing goes for rows as well. So if I reduce the height of the first row, I can select the whole table once again. Right click and distribute rows evenly. And then you can see that the remaining height is now distributed evenly. But if I want my header row to be narrower, I can still do that, leaving the remaining cells as they are. If I want them all to be significantly shorter, I can start dragging from the bottom of them. Something like that. And then I can select maybe these rows, particularly these rows, and right click and distribute rows evenly. So then they are distributed with the same height. Now if I want to add more rows, all I have to do is be in the last cell, click on here and press tab, and which will create a next row. Or if you need multiple next rows, you can just right click here and choose, first click here and then right click and then insert rows or columns. Clicking here, you can say exactly where you want them, above or below, and the number of rows you can insert here. Also, we have another useful shortcut. If you hold down Alt key while dragging the edge here, make sure that you let your mouse go first and then use the keyboard shortcut Alt. It is immediately going to increase the number of rows as per your dragging. Now make sure you let go of the mouse first and then the keyboard shortcut. In case you need to merge cells, you can of course do that by just selecting them, right click and give merge cells, or you can do that by selecting this option, merge cells. Click here and there you can see the cells are merged. I'm going to undo the last step, and I wanted to show is how to bring the text from the Excel file, and make sure to populate all these data as coming into your predefined cells. So in one preference, you have to make sure you check before you have to do anything from clipboard handling. Go to edit menu, go to preferences, clipboard handling, and choose all information selected, index markers, watches, styles, etc. By default it will be text only. You have to select this option. So not just text, but you want all the information. That can be very useful. And now if I switch to an Excel file, just open an Excel file. Here is my Excel file, and then I'll go to this sheet, sales order. Maybe I'll simply select the 4 of the first columns and just simply give Control V. Go back to my document and just give simply Control V. Control C and Control V, that is copy and paste from the Excel to my InDesign document. And you can see immediately that the table has been formed automatically. I can highlight all of these lines and copy them say like this. I'll just remove this outside first. Okay, so I'll just select all of these lines. You copy them, Control C, and then maybe come back to my other frame or table, double click inside here, choose exactly the same number of rows from which the information I have prepared, and then press Control V to distribute the data into these cells. This might look like it's a bit too long this way, and that's why you have an option to just place the whole Excel file or part of it and then refine the table with your formatting options. So instead of starting with the table like this, you can create a new page and create a new text frame within this. Having a new text frame selected, just create a new page, new text frame. I'll go to the file menu, go to place, I'll choose this document, table data. Make sure you have this show import options on and click open. I have to close my previous file from here. I'll just close that. Okay, now go to place, choose that file, show import options on, give open. And from here I can change the sheet to my sales orders. Then I also can select what part we need. So A is the first column and G is the last column. It means there are 44 rows in this actual sheet. So I can decide to have all of them imported if I click OK. Now it will automatically fill the table. And notice there is not enough space. Remaining information will be hidden as overset text, which means I can just click on here and then create a new table here, right like so. And then the information continues. Similar to a normal threaded text, it will act like a story. So if I reduce the size of the first frame, it will start showing up and the text will flow back and forth. So each of these rows will move these frames, and I will continue to have all the rows visible. Now if I want to save time, I want to avoid having overset text when I import tables. That's actually a much better way of doing this. So I'm going to start a new document. Just 2 millimeters. Here I'm going to choose my facing pages off and then create. Okay. Now I'm going to my master page or a parent page. I'm going to create a text frame. Say click and drag, right like so. Now because it's set up to my master page, now if I go to my first page, I can hold Control Shift and select this, Control Shift and select this text frame. And I'm going to go to File and place the file, show import options, okay, open. And I'm going to choose this sheet and give OK. Because the master text frame, InDesign will automatically generate additional pages for me and connect them all together into a thread. The table will be visible on 3 pages here, like so, without having any extra work of defining each of the frames one by one. If I zoom in a bit, I can show you all of these pages together. And make sure you understand that if you make changes to the side of this column, say here, click here, one of these frames will update all of these. Columns will be updated in all the frames. Once again, it behaves like a story and it's divided between the pages. That changes you do in the size of your column will affect all these pages. So once again, if I increase from here, this paragraph, this row, so immediately the third page becomes relevant. Another important thing is we are missing out the name of these in each columns. Because we see them in the first page, I cannot see them in the next page. So to be able to see that, we will have to select the first row. And then right click it and convert to header rows. Once we do that, that will be able to see in the next row as well. Automatically, whenever the table is threaded, you can always see the second page. Now we see the names of each of these columns, and I can decide to reduce the width of these columns. Let's say here, let's decide to maybe just bring this down like so. And there you can see immediately it came up with the heading row at the beginning or the top of the frame. If I bring this down, you can see there are real red plus sign dots. They mean overset within the cells. So they are similar to the red plus sign on the bottom right corner of the frame. It actually means too much text within the cell. So to fix it, we have to increase the cell width here. And then immediately we went back to the previous page. So let me just move it up here. Now there are features about formatting cells, and this feature is unfortunately only available in InDesign CC. It's a very handy feature. If you highlight a row, you can quickly drag and drop it at any part of the table. Even between pages, you can do this by selecting columns from here to here. I can switch. Or even a column, I can select this column and select the column, and then you can switch right like so. And it works throughout the pages. Obviously, you can do that even by clicking down here and then place it into the section you need to go. It's an extremely handy feature introduced in InDesign CC. Now notice I placed the wrap here. It also changed here in the page as well. Now that we know how to import and arrange the copy into tables, we will be looking at how to format them and start using character styles for consistency. Now with this table prepared, I'm going to format this table. And the first important thing is to remember that in order to be able to be consistently using styling throughout your tables, you first need to save your paragraph styles for text, and then cell style for regions within your tables, and then cell styles are going to be connected to your paragraphs. So we previously talked about styles, and we already covered all three styles that are most important here. There are character styles, object styles, and paragraph styles. Now we will be working on cell styles and table styles as well. These also connect to each other similarly to character and paragraph styles and object styles. So the first thing I'm going to do is select one of these text here. And I'm going to press escape, and this will automatically select the whole cell. That's useful shortcut to remember. So once that is selected, I'm going to change the formatting of the text maybe to Arial bold. And maybe the alignment to right. And slightly reduce the size of this. and make sure that the cell is center aligned vertically. This option, align center vertically, made a tad bit of a difference. It doesn't show much, but if you just increase this, you will see the difference here. I'm going to undo that. Now this is something I want to save as a paragraph style. So all you need to do is go to the paragraph style panel and then click on new style. I'll click here and then name this as body cell. So just simply as that of now, I want this cell to have a certain style. And maybe that style is that I don't need that border around it. I'll just have a division here. So I'm going to do this. I'll have the cell selected. I'm going to go here in the options bar. I can define the stroke here, lines that I look at. So at the moment I have all these lines selected for this cell. So if I reduce this to 0 points, and that means I won't see any lines around here. So I'll be able to see that by going to the preview option, press W, and there you don't see any lines around. And there you see what exactly happened. Now you might see still lines around here because it's coming from the other cell. This cell doesn't have any boundaries around it, so which could be a way I want this to work, or I could just decide to have a left and right line as shown as thin line. So in this case I have to deselect the top and the bottom lines and maybe set it to 0.5 points. I'll just select this, deselect the point here, here, and then maybe set this to 0.5 points. W. Right, that works fine. Let's press escape. Now I could even choose a different type of stroke instead of a solid one. I could choose a dashed line, a triple, or a thin line. Whatever we exempt of this, and of course curl can be adjusted as well, but for now let's keep it that way. So I'll just click away, and you can see these lines here are more thin than compared to the other lines. And maybe just to make sure that's noticeable, I'm going to change this color to cyan. Escape here, go to here and make this as cyan. Alright, so now that's definitely different. It's thinner and it's a different color as well. So if now this cell style is that I would like to save, I have to keep using within this table and throughout the document. I will need to save this as a cell style. So to copy formatting, saved as a paragraph style, but the graphic look of this cell will have to be saved here in the options bar. Press escape. Here in the options bar. These are cell styles. Here I have an option called new cell style. I'm going to call this body cell. So if you notice, we have applied all the settings: justification in center, stroke width, bottom stroke width 0, and so on and so forth. We have all these properties. We can use the paragraph style, define it as body cell. That we saved earlier. So I'm going to select that as well, and now I'm going to click OK. So I can easily highlight most of these cells, and let's just give them as a body cell. So you can see that it not only update the formatting of that cells, but also the copy will be immediately changed to the paragraph style that was connected. Now let's say I want my header row to have a different style as well. So I'm just gonna select one of these here, probably similar to Arial black. I will reduce the size as well. And I'm going to have a fill color for this cell. Say cyan would do work, and text would be white. Let's just give a text color as white. And escape. Text background color is cyan. Okay. Text color is white. And maybe I'll just select the click here, press escape, and I don't want a stroke. I'll keep it at 0 point. Escape, 0 point stroke. Okay. So I have this is cell style. Maybe I'm going to use, and that's the one last thing that I have to set alignment to is the center alignment. This case vertical alignment is less important, so I'm actually happy with the way it is. So now before I have a cell selected, I can define this as a new paragraph style. Here's a new paragraph style. I'll click here. I'll be giving the name as header style. And then I will define it also as a cell style. Just give it a check here. So new cell style. Same, I'm going to choose a header style name. I'm going to use the same name, so in case they are connected, I can simply just highlight this first line and make sure it is using the header row style. Click here, select this, and header row style. Do you notice that even though they are connected, I saved it's definitely not connected. So you always have to make sure that you go into your cell styles. Here, cell styles. I'll click here. Let's go to my cell styles, cell styles. Here. Right click and edit header style and make sure it is connected with the paragraph style of header style. And give OK. Now if I give that, it's a header style. Edit here, maybe text graphic style. Set here, diagonal lines, color is applied here. Okay. Edit header style. Yeah. I'm going to have to select this. Go click here, and apply this header style. Now you can see immediately the update has been made along with the paragraph style. If I go to my second page, it will be automatically used with the same cell styles throughout the whole table. But what happens to my body rows? So you can see that they are only applied to areas or rows where I manually assign them. But how can we automatically assign the body cell to all the body cells within the table? For that, we need to create a table styles as well. So first of all, I'm going to highlight the whole table. just go to my table, whole table. Now go to my table styles panel. Choose new table style. Hold click here. Which I'm going to keep it as table style 1. For now, more importantly, we have to define the what style, what cell we need have here. Style body rows as body cell and header rows as header style. And if I have the preview on, table setup, row stroke, column stroke, and also OK. Just give OK. If I select this table style, it will automatically be updated in all the body rows. So I can go up here and automatically everything will be assigned in that way. So the best way of remembering all that I have done is to first, you have to save the paragraph style for copy, and then cell styles for individual regions of your table, and then finally a table style that contains all of these styles and assign them in the right order. Similarly, only this is a big topic. It takes time to get used to working with all these styles and settings, so make sure you spend enough time practicing this and explore all the different options that you can find for tables. And I'll just show you how quickly you can create alternate fields for tables to make it easier to read and find what is connected, especially if you have a very wide table. So what you need to do once you created a table style, all you have to go there and go edit table style. Here and here you can choose a fills section, where you will find an alternating pattern. Now if I choose every other row, you will see it updating. If you want this to be a different color like a red one, you can choose the red one as well. Its default tint is set to 20%. If there's still too much, you can reduce it. So less probably still is alright. Now maybe a different color I want to choose, so I can choose cyan to go with the theme. It completely is up to you. And if you feel like the first row shouldn't be filled, instead you want the second row to be filled, you can skip the first row and start the pattern from the second row. If you want that you have a pattern to use different colors, so instead of having this color, you can have a different color as well. This is black. You can just reduce the tint here as well. And maybe you can use a red one here. And now we have that alternating pattern, skipping the first row, but I can also remove that skip, and so on and so forth. So you can imagine, once again, there are so many ways of customizing the formatting of your tables, and everything will be consistent and easy to do as long as you save your formatting into the styles. So that's what's the key with the InDesign, to work with styles and start setting them up from the beginning to save time in the long run. That's all about the table. So we will be working on data merge. That's an amazing automation feature in InDesign. Data merge is a brilliant feature in InDesign for repeated content that can be automated by preparing placeholders for every detail on a page. And once you import all the data, InDesign will populate all the necessary pages with the content using all the formatting that you assigned these frames in the beginning. So if you want to test this feature out, I've created an example called data merge example InDesign. And in this document, I will have made this couple of frames that will have already formatting assigned to them. So let's see how data merge works. All you have to do is go to the Windows menu. Under the Utilities section, you have the data merge. Click on that, and you will immediately see this dialog box that appears here. You can also see that a text file has been connected to this InDesign file, and that text file is actually next to this file on your exercise. On here, just click here. I'll just open that right here. Now what's inside it, if you open this, I'll see that the first line is that what explains what each of these entries are. So we have a title, we have at the image, notice at the sign, we have at the background, the text, format, and size. They're all separated by commas, and then each of these lines, next lines, will have all these entries again separated by commas. Now that the sign means this entry is actually not just the text, it means that actually an image. And if I define the file name in the entry here, InDesign will automatically look for these files in the same folder where the text file is saved, and that is why if I show you the location here, I have saved all these in here. Separated by commas. I have all the necessary information which is already connected to this document. So I simply just open the preview panel. I can start how to see that. Let's click on this preview. Yeah. Information will be populated into the page, and I can actually see all of the pages. So I can toggle through all these 7 pages I had. With the text file, and I'm happy with the way it looks, and I can then click on the icon up here and create merge documents. So pressing that, I will get a couple of other options you can explore in this on your own time. I'm not going very deep into this because it's a very specific feature and you might need it or you might not need it. That's something by default. I'm just click OK. Here it gave word set text report for a few pages. Let's close that. Now I'm going to get additional InDesign document. See, and there's some overset text during this process. So if I click OK, I can see everything is on an individual page here. Now if I zoom out, you can tell all that is populated on the base of text file, and of course those images that I had in the folder. Just to show you how it starts, and I'm going to create a blank document. The file, new document, create. Here I'm going to create an empty image frame using this elliptical frame. I'm holding down the shift key to make sure it is a proper circle. I'll just use the dimension from here to here, portrait to landscape. I'll select this to be this like this, and I will have a set option auto fit on for this. So I could maybe even have a stroke here. Let's say a stroke, some little bit like so. And we have some formatting on that. So, and then we have a text frame. Also, we can change the formatting of the text later on using the paragraph style. For now, I'm just going to keep it as it is. And once I have my placeholders ready, I can go to my data merge panel. Let's drop down. I'll choose select data source and choose this text file, and we click open. And immediately you see that this has been populated. I can just set these options here. I could put this to center, and maybe I'll just put this down like right like so. Now I can quickly decide to place into my placeholder, like the image should go into the image frame. Click and drag and release, and this actual text can go into here. Okay, it's already there. So if I check on the preview, and this is how it looks. That can help me decide how it should be, and so I can make this a little bit smaller, and the font here can be changed to maybe Arial to text. Here we go. Bold. Maybe I'll increase the size a bit. And to check how this looks, I can quickly go through the pages as long as you have the text file ready. With all the information, and the image name is accordingly, and all kept in one folder. To set up placeholders will be a child's play. Select this, fill frame proportionally. So working with text frames and image is all you have to do, and assign the right entry to the right placeholder. You can imagine this data merge feature is brilliant if you need to create invitations that will send out to hundreds of people. You can all have all the names of invited people saved into a text file, and anything else you need to customize for each of those people, and then use placeholder within your copy for the names and all the other customized details. Similarly, you use these features for creating business cards in InDesign. So if you have a company with hundreds of employees, you would design a business card using data merge and have InDesign batch process that information and turn it into pages for you. This is a huge time saver if you need to ever do anything where you see that the elements are repeated and you need several of them. Remember to use the data merge. But the good news is we have completed this chapter for now. Any of these topics were a little bit too complicated, make sure you watch them again, and even more importantly, make sure you spend enough time in InDesign practicing and exploring what you learned here, and only move on to the next chapter when you feel confident and understand how everything works that we discussed here. Well, next chapter we'll be discussing about asset and reusing elements in InDesign documents.